because I'd rather do it and fail than look back and say, oh, I could have done it, right? Maybe I was too afraid. Maybe I didn't have enough self-confidence to do it. And now I've just taken the jump. And now I'm really trying to build that out and do it. Anytime I joined a really large company, I felt like I just blended in. But when I was in like a startup, a small company, I could see my contribution. But I've always been too afraid to try and do that for myself, despite my wife and many other friends saying, dude, you're really capable of doing this and you should have more confidence in yourself. I think part of it is just overcoming those individual obstacles. I'm doing it to overcome my own limiting type beliefs. But the difference between someone who's successful here and someone who's just starting here is just a knowledge gap. They just know more than you and have been applying more of what they know for a longer period of time. Like no one who has a problem and then reads a post where it's a solution to their problem thinks you're just trying to sell me something. When people say salesy post, often what they're trying to communicate is, I don't want to sound like that person who's calling you when it's dinner time, or who's knocking on your door when you're trying to watch a movie on a Saturday afternoon. This is going to be great. It's going to launch. It's going to get all this engagement. I'm going to get some leads, and it flopped. But maybe I just need to be more honest with myself and say, hey, not every post is going to do super amazing. And I think all of us can relate to that. And that's just okay.
Before I begin this podcast, I have a small request. I just saw my YouTube analytics and saw that over 90% of people haven't subscribed to this channel yet. So I have a small favor to ask you. If you've ever found value through this podcast, please do me a small favor, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon, leave a comment, like those videos, share them with your friends and family who are trying to build a business or just trying to understand how things work. It would mean the world to me if you do that. It allows me to bring on more guests who are trying to bring more value to you. It just makes this channel bigger so that I can bring on more guests, help you answer a question, essentially trying to bring value to you. You can also ask me a question in the comments and I can ask them to the guests or I can answer them myself. So please do me a small favor, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon, leave a comment, share the videos with your people. That's it. Now back to the podcast.
Today we have a very special guest, a guy who has over a decade of experience in the marketing world, the one and only Ryan Musselman. Thank you so much for coming on, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I have so many questions because I'm trying to build my personal brand. I have so many questions for my own self, and I'm sure a lot of people can find value from this podcast. But before I get into the details of strategies, LinkedIn and everything, I want to know your story and also a few people who don't know about you on LinkedIn, although majority of them would be knowing who are trying to build their personal brand. You have shared so much content for free. So for the few people who don't know about you, Ryan, can you please tell us your story, your background, how did you get here?
Yeah, sure. So I've been building content businesses for about 14 years now, and I've been all over the creator economy. I started off really on YouTube, and this is about 2010. I was working at a company called Machinima, and they were a video game network. So they were trying to build their business on YouTube by recruiting all of the gaming influencers, some of the more popular ones that maybe some of the listeners already know about today. And the idea there was if you can recruit these gaming creators and they can create a lot of videos inside of this network, then we can take all of that video inventory and go and sell it to advertisers. So I was there for about 4 years. Then I got recruited to go and work at Google, and I was on the YouTube gaming team. And there I was managing companies, just like the company I had come from, working with all of these different content creators. So that took me deeper in the content business. Then I went back into the startup world and was leading very large content teams, selling large content partnerships to the T-Mobiles of the world, big telecom companies of the world, and just various other potential sponsors. And then fast forward all the way to 2022, and I launched my company, Parade. Now, I made $0 in 2022. In fact, I just posted about this. Now, fast forward a little bit more into 2023, and I now own a 6-figure ghostwriting agency. I've just launched a digital platform known as the Parade System. You can get it on Notion. It's in my featured section there. And now I've been able to really figure out how to launch a business off the backs of LinkedIn. So I help creators and others who are trying to build those content businesses, or at least build a content marketing engine that they can use to promote a digital product or a coaching business and so on. And man, it's a great place. LinkedIn is a great place. And I'm just excited to be here. And See creators like yourself who are creating podcasts and they're trying to build their
Yeah.
brand as well. Many listeners are probably trying to do the same thing. And
Yeah.
everyone is on this content journey and path. So pumped for all of you and super pumped to chat more about it here.
Yeah, we all hear it like it's very rewarding at the end, but yeah, the grind is there. But
It's
like
there.
you shared your story, like how you were first into the gaming business, although that was on the content side, and then you got into the ghostwriting business. So, I mean, you've seen the ins and outs of how the content business works, like on the different industries. And you said you worked in the gaming business, then you helped a lot of people build their content strategies. What were some of these insights that you saw in there that you thought, okay, I can use those ideas and bring them on LinkedIn? And then why LinkedIn specifically?
Yeah, great question. I've spent so much time with different content creators and influencers, dominantly in the video space. And a lot of the same concepts that they use, like hooks on a short form video, thumbnail methodologies, and so on. I brought all of those inside of my carousels and really learned between them, other articles, other hook writers, and so on, and really just adapted the basic concepts. But I'd say one of the key differentiators is formatting your posts on LinkedIn, right? So you know how sometimes you see that long sentence and it gets shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
By doing that in a way where it's not disruptive to the reader, but it allows the reader to scan your content fast. And I found that those concepts, from good hooks to good visuals in your carousels and good formatting in the post, if you just practice those as the basics, you're definitely going to make progress. So my process really is post Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekend, but not often. At the same time, use these same principles: a good hook, good info, good formatting, and ship it. And often, some of the most influential things you can do in a post are to show people the bad way people do things, then show them the right way to do something. It allows their mind, from a psychological perspective, to say, okay, I've been warned, don't do this. Instead, do this. And the reason it works so well is because they can read that information and immediately apply it. They don't have to worry about some really long webinar or some long and drawn out course. They can use instant knowledge for their benefit and actually get that benefit. And when you build your content strategy to be instant gratification, we live in an instant gratification world, right? All the short form video has pushed us to this. I need it now, and I need it short, and I need it sweet. So do that with your content. And you'll start to see progress. Now, the reason why I chose LinkedIn, okay, there's so many other social platforms out there, but LinkedIn is very unique. Now, there's 199 million users in the US, 101 million in India, which is exciting, right? You know, that's your country there. So you guys have the second largest regional representation here, which is wonderful. But there's 900 million users overall. But here's where things get exciting. So I've been reading some data recently. There's 65 million decision makers on the platform. 4 out of 5 people actually influence those decision makers. So they're decision drivers, meaning they may not have the budget, but they influence the outcome. And then in a recent poll, 40% of B2B marketers on LinkedIn have said it's the best platform for generating high quality leads, not just any leads, right? The high quality leads. But my all-time favorite stat is this: 9 million people have enabled creator mode since 2021. Now, 9 million is actually really small compared to the 900 million that's on LinkedIn, but it signifies this: LinkedIn is stepping into the content game, and they're saying content is important. We're no longer just a job search, career profile website. We are now a content platform. And the final reason then is that, unlike Twitter, which is a little bit like the Wild West, or I guess we can call it X now, you know, it's kind of like the dumping ground for the internet, right? Just anything goes over there. So I don't think people have the same lens of approaching Twitter as they do on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you have a professional backdrop. It's your professional reputation. Your persona is really on the line here. So people look at it through a more serious professional business lens. And because of that, it allows people that want to do ghostwriting or build a content business to really accelerate that business or launch a digital product and get those good results when you're building your brand over time. So to me, that's why for me it's the #1 platform.
Yeah, I mean, that I mean, a lot of people they're going to have their minds blown. You shared a lot of data that 4 out of 5 people are decision influencers in a way. And I mean, that that in a way has a lot of impact on your content. Even if you are if you're working as an employee at some company and you are trying to build your personal brand, that can even get you a higher paying job where you're at if you're making content on LinkedIn. And even if you, let's just say if you're not, even if you have a business, that can have a huge impact in driving more B2B leads in your business. And I'm sure you're working with a lot of people who have shared success stories. Now, Ryan, before I get into the strategies, like I've spoken with so many successful people, and I mean, they have this one thing common in them. And they say that if you want to be successful, your why has to be very strong. And I'm sure you have a very strong why when you started building a personal brand. You're working with all these biggest brands, you had successful jobs over there. So what was your why in terms of getting onto building a personal brand, getting onto LinkedIn, and getting into the content game, working as building a content creation agency? What was your why?
Yeah, there's a couple of them in there. And I think one for me is more on the personal front. I have always just wanted to build something of my own rather than being attached to some other form of success. Here's what I mean by that. Anytime I joined a really large company that wasn't a startup, I felt like I just blended in with everyone else. But when I was in like a startup, a small company, everything I did was I could see my contribution, right? And so if we needed to hit a revenue goal, I can go out and
Mhm.
hit it with my team. If I needed to recruit content creators, when I did, recruiting them into the business meant, well, that's more viewership, that's more content, that's more watch time, and ultimately that means it's
Mhm.
more sales. And so
Yeah.
getting those wins were very gratifying. And it was nice to be able to do that for other companies. And I've had a great career with great bosses and I've learned a lot from them. But I've always been too afraid to try and do that for myself, despite my wife and many other friends saying, dude, you're really capable of doing this and you should have more confidence in yourself. And so for me, I think part of it is just overcoming those individual obstacles where maybe I was too afraid. Maybe I didn't have enough self
Mhm.
confidence to do it. And now I've just taken the jump. I feel like I've acquired all of this knowledge over a 20-year plus career, right?
Mhm.
14 of them in content.
Yeah.
And now I'm really trying to build that out and do it because I'd rather do it and fail than look back and say, oh, I could have done it, right?
Yeah.
And we learn this often, but the person who's way further ahead of you actually isn't that much smarter than you. I'm not saying there's not geniuses out there, but the difference
Mhm.
between someone who is successful here and someone who's
Mhm.
just starting here is just
Yeah.
a knowledge gap. They just know more than you and have been applying more of what they know for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
So you can actually just start taking one step every single day to learn the knowledge, apply the knowledge, and catch up. And the less you compare yourself to those who are ahead, and the more you
Mhm.
just look at them as mentors, then the more fun you're actually going to have in making progress and the easier it's going to be for you. So I'm doing it to overcome my own limiting type beliefs, my own kind of fear of
Yeah.
failure.
That's 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 one of the things that you and I push, like regret, push all your fears, and then you'll see what comes out of it. And like, it's easy to say, like we're trying to overcome our own self like, limitations that we have in our minds. So, and I know that even sometimes, even the biggest people who are trying to build their personal brands, trying to make content, they feel dejected if one of their content pieces doesn't work out. Have you ever experienced that? And if so, like how do you get out of it?
Yeah, totally. I experienced it today, man. I had this really great carousel that's teaching people the wrong way to build a featured section and the right way. And it flopped. Well, not flopped, but it's like it's not on par with the growth of my other posts this week. And I think something happened to LinkedIn on the back end, or maybe it's just not as good as I thought it
Yeah.
was, right? And I've
Yeah.
had that happen a number of times where you think, okay, I put so much time into this carousel. I haven't seen anyone do it like this. This is going to be great. It's going to launch. It's going to get all this engagement. I'm going to get some leads. And that's been pretty quiet this morning. And I don't know why that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's because LinkedIn changes something on the back end
Yeah.
algorithm. But maybe I just need to be more honest with myself and say, hey, not every post is going to do super amazing. And I think
Yeah.
all of us can relate to that. And that's just okay. And that's
Yeah.
okay. Not every
Yeah.
post needs to be a banger and knock it out of the park. In fact, often when we think, hey, this post isn't doing really well, we're only judging that based on how many engagements are there, how many impressions are there, how many comments are there. But if we start to think like, well, am I getting leads from this? Or am I building trust with people who maybe they're not going to buy today, but it was building trust for them in the moment. And I may not even know it, but it built enough trust. So next week or next month or next year, they buy from me. So there's so much that we actually can't measure in a post like that, right? And if we only limit it to thinking about engagement and likes and stuff, then we're going to miss the big picture here. This is one post out of like hundreds that I'll do all year. And it's the same thing for you and anyone who's listening. You might have posts that underperform, and I use that in quotes because it may not be up to what you wanted it to be, but it's building trust no matter what. If people are seeing it and it's true and accurate and good information, it's building trust, whether they take action now or months down the road.
Yeah. And sometimes like even the post that you didn't expect that it would do well, it goes viral. Like I've had a couple of viral posts that I didn't expect that they would go viral, but yeah, it did. And like that was one of the reasons that like I thought like, hey, there is something there on LinkedIn that I need to tap more into.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the strategies. How do you, if you were to explain somebody, let's say you have a consultation call, somebody comes up and tells you like, hey Ryan, I want to build a personal brand, a successful personal brand, like what advice do you share to them?
Yeah, I would tell them get started on figuring out directionally. It doesn't have to be in concrete detail. Figure out the audience that you want to do it for. So you can look at a couple of things. One, what experience do I have to date that I could give to someone else and teach them? And maybe it means it's multiple people, right? Because everyone gets really worried and they say, well, I don't know what niche I serve. Well, you don't need to answer that question right out of the gate. I did not have that question answered until about 9 months plus after I started, and it still goes through some changes here and there. But yet I'm running a really great agency, right? So really just think about, I have this skill and it can serve this audience, or it can solve this problem. And just start right there and then begin creating content relative to that. Don't be afraid to share a personal story with a picture. I used to be really against doing that. Now I see that it's really important because it deepens the relationship with your audience. Teach people information that you know. Now, if you don't have a major skill that you feel can really help someone yet, one, you're probably wrong about that. You probably can help someone right now, and maybe they're just at a different stage of their journey, right? You may not be able to help the master and advanced person with that skill, but you can help someone who doesn't have the skill that you currently have, and that maybe could be your target audience. But the other way to look at it is to say, there's a skill that I want to have, right? Maybe you're a great content creator, but you know nothing about SEO, and you really want to go down that route and take your great content creation skills and use them to build an SEO business. Then go and study everything about SEO. Learn how it's used in AI, study top content creators, just go and master SEO. Maybe volunteer to do it for free for some people, run some of your own tests to see how it ranks, create content about it. You can build it in public, and you can even say, hey, I'm a content creator. I've created content about this in the past, but I'm so passionate about SEO and helping people get this right to build their websites, generate leads, generate their brand. So I'm building in public. Here's my 30-day SEO learning plan, and I'm going to go and study this, that will, and that, and that, and that. And people will then join you because you're building in public, and they'll be a part of your journey, and they'll want to see you learn and grow. I get many comments where someone says, man, we connected months ago, and it's so great to see your journey and how you're growing and so on. You will get that too if you just get started and put it out there.
Yeah. And that's a great advice. But I'm sure like there are a lot of people who even don't know, like when they come up to one of your posts and they like read that, hey, you should make content like this, you should write content like this. They don't have too much experience. They have some skills that they can talk about, but they don't know what is top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Can you simplify it? Like, can you explain it to a layman who doesn't understand marketing jargons? Like, these are the type of content ideas that you can have, and you can use them in your skill or niche or industry, whatever that is.
Quick one, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do me a small favor, hit those buttons, you know the drill. Your support is the only reason that I've been able to have these incredible guests on this podcast who are trying to bring more value to you. So please do me a small favor, hit that subscribe button, like the videos, ring the bell icon, leave a comment, share the videos with your friends and family who are trying to build a business, whichever platform you're consuming this on. That's it. Now, back to the podcast.
Yeah, I'll even start more simple than top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Think in terms of two ways. There's posts that are great for creating engagement, and there's other posts that are great for generating leads. And when you're starting out, and this is what I teach in my parade system, I don't even use tofu, mofu, and bofu anymore because I feel like people get it too confused. So when you're first starting out, think of your content strategy as Monday through Friday, right? Let's pretend you decide that you're going to post Monday through Friday. Well, you're going to want to, if you're new, you're going to want to get some engagement with your target audience. So you're posting these engagement style posts that could be something that is just really general and reaches really well across the category, like top 10 ways to build your brand in 2023, right? And it's just a very generalized post, but there's a lot of people that want to build their brand. So let's pretend you're serving SEO clients. Top 10 ways to build your brand with SEO in 2023. And you list those 10 ways, you show some examples, and there you go. That's engagement content. It's called a listicle, right? I know many of the listeners understand this, and especially you. But my point in saying that is those things just tend to get a lot of engagement. The number is very persuasive. People know it's a list, right? So they know it's a post that can be easily consumed. Now, let's say you're further along in your journey. A lead post would be something, how I helped my client get 10 leads with these SEO principles, right? And now you're showing how you took a strategy and a process and applied it for a transformation. And that's when people start to read your content and think, okay, if he did it for them, he could do it for me, especially if I'm a target audience. And so that's the difference between engagement content and lead content. And you can always have a great piece of call to action inside of an engaging post. So for example, let's go back to the 10 ways to grow your brand using these SEO principles in 2023. At the very end of that post, you could say, P.S. I'm offering a special right now, and I'll give you a free SEO consultation. Send me a DM, right? Or DM me strategy or consultation. So you can actually sell more than people think. And that's a key thing I want the listeners to hear right now, is that sometimes I hear creators say, I'm just doing an engagement post, right? And I'm not trying to oversell or cram it down the throat. Well, if you looked at my content for the past 2 weeks, I have sold in pretty much every single post. That means all 10 pieces of content have been me selling, but it's not like I'm just throwing it out there, go and buy my product. I'm just putting it in, and it's usually at the end or somewhere in the middle, but it's relative to the content. You can absolutely do that. You're not going to hurt anyone's trust, or at least that's been my experience. So that's how I think about content when training someone and coaching them to get up and running with their content strategy.
Yeah. When you talk about sales post, people have this fear that, including myself, you shouldn't have a salesy post if you're providing value. And then there's one point that you feel like, hey, maybe I should write a sales post, but what are people going to say? Am I going to come off as somebody who's trying to like sell them a bad product or service? How do you get over that?
Yeah, if you're using social proof or you're demonstrating how it speaks to someone's problem, like no one who has a problem and then reads a post where it's a solution to their problem thinks you're just trying to sell me something. What they're thinking in their mind is, oh my gosh, I have this problem. Oh my gosh, this guy presented a solution. Let me look at it further. So that's why I think, like, when people say salesy post, often what they're trying to communicate is, I don't want to sound like that person who's calling you when it's dinner time, or who's knocking on your door when you're trying to watch a movie on a Saturday afternoon, right? In reality, on LinkedIn, you have a lot of people who are hungry to build a brand, hungry to grow a business, hungry to have a high status, authority, trusting position. And so if you're speaking to their problems while selling to them, there's no possible way someone is going to feel turned off by that, if indeed it truly is their problem that you're speaking to with your solution or with a solution. So I think that is really important for us to just keep in mind, that if we're targeting content for one audience to address one problem with a solution that is proven to help them, or at least can work for them, then it's important.
And a follow-up question on that: how soon should you monetize? I'm sure there are a lot of people who want to build their personal brand. They haven't made any pieces of content yet, but they want to start in some way, but they don't know how soon. Like, they know that they should be making content. They have a few pieces like written. They put it out. How soon do you suggest that they should start monetizing their audience? Let's say they have less than 1,000 followers on their LinkedIn. Is it okay, or is it something that you recommend that they build a following first, of some number, they put out a lot of value, and then they think of monetizing?
So I'm gonna answer this two ways. One, here's a brief little story. There was this individual that was creating content on LinkedIn, a younger guy, young professional, and he was doing one thing. He was helping dentists book
Hmm.
virtual appointments with potential clients. He
Okay.
was making 20 grand a month doing that. In fact, it was this year. So this isn't a story from the past. It was this year. Just take a guess at how many followers he had at that time.
500.
He had 1,800, so a little bit more than 500. But he
Okay.
was making 20 grand a month. He only had 1,800 followers, and he was super niche. I mean, think about that.
Wow.
You're booking appointments, virtual appointments for
Yeah.
dental offices. It's very, very, well, maybe it's
Yeah.
bigger than I think, right? Everyone needs dental, but think about that. All of his content has to be about dentists and booking appointments and so on. And so he was crushing it, and that's an incredible niche. So my answer to you is, if you have a skill and you know
Hmm.
that skill can help someone solve a problem or fulfill a desire, you
Hmm.
can start selling with 0 followers, right?
Right.
It may mean that you don't get a lot of traffic because not a lot of people are seeing that you have an
Yeah.
offer, but that's okay. Keep going and keep doing that. And your plan from there is connect with people who are your ideal buyer. Just connect with them. You don't have to worry about sending them a message, right? Not everyone's going to accept. Don't sell them cold. Just connect with them so they see your content every day, right?
Right.
And then just let them kind of build up that reputation, and then decide if you want to reach out and sell them something, right? So it's really less about follower count and it's more about, can I actually solve a problem? If you can solve a
Yeah.
problem, someone is willing to pay for you to solve their problem.
That's a really big number. And like, was that person focusing on outbound, or was it just inbound?
I think it was just inbound. Matt Barker is
Wow.
the one who told me about it, and I'm just blown away that,
Yeah.
that was happening like that. So 1,800 followers, man. It didn't take much. I don't even know if he was posting every day, right? And
Wow.
that's the amazing thing on it. I've got another buddy he's got he's either like in the 20,000 followers or so, but his engagement is not high. It's pretty low
Hmm.
engagement. And he's making crazy good money because he's got a lot of experience, and that experience translates into a problem that he can solve for his target audience. And his target audience has a lot of buying power, so it's
Yeah.
easier for him to generate revenue. But if you're a copywriter or a ghostwriter, you can definitely sell your services
Yeah.
for $500 minimum, right? Don't go into it thinking, well, it's only 200 bucks a month, right? If you're selling to a US clientele and you're going to
Mhm.
write 3 posts for them a week, you can start at 500. Keep that in mind as any of you are out there listening to that. Know the buying power of your target audience. And if it's someone in the US, they can afford
Mhm.
that. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would be very happy to hear that. And we talk about target audience. I mean, there's a general notion that LinkedIn algorithm works in a way that Facebook algorithm was back in 2010. Is that true? And if so, like, how do you have a post that does really well on LinkedIn if that's the algorithm? I mean, let's forget about Facebook algorithm. Like, how do you work on a post that gets enough traction? Make it that simple.
Yeah, I really keep this super simple, right? So on LinkedIn, and I think this is true of like Instagram and so on, but the more profiles your brand profile touches, meaning the more your LinkedIn account touches other LinkedIn accounts, then the more your content is going to surface on their feeds and so on, especially when they like your post and go from there. So my goal every day is just to make sure that my LinkedIn account is touching as many people relevant to my target audience that I can. Now, this usually when someone hears this, they think, okay, I got to comment like 500 times a day. I don't do that. Maybe it's 20 times a day in total, right? Now, I will respond to every comment as much as I can on my own
Yeah.
post, but my account touching other accounts, I'd say on average, I get anywhere between 12 to 18 on average, maybe 20 to 25 on a really good day, right? Now, you can master that process and get to 30 or 50 if you want. Uh, just keep that in mind though. The more your account engages, the more it's going to likely surface
Yeah.
when it gets out there. So that's it. I would say don't even worry about anything else. Obviously, make sure your content is really good and really clear, but
Right.
get your LinkedIn account to get touched by other LinkedIn accounts so your content surfaces.
Right. And what's a cardinal rule that you follow for a successful LinkedIn post? Like there are different elements, there are a lot of frameworks that marketers follow, but if you could simplify it to somebody who has little
Sure.
knowledge of marketing, what is something that you stick to that, hey, this element has to be there in this post?
Yeah, there's three really key ones. Very simple. One is a good but relevant hook. That but relevant part is so important. So if I know that I'm servicing, we'll use leadership coaches, for example, right? And if I'm about to do a sales post or a lead post, then I want my hook to be compelling and relevant to a leadership coach. Here's an example: how you can build a brand as a leadership coach to get more clients. Okay. It touches on a fear and it touches on a desire. Their fear is that they don't have enough revenue coming in. Well, how do I fulfill that fear? Well, we're talking about more clients, right? More leads. Their desire is to have a brand that they can leverage. So I press into that desire. So how you can build a brand, there's the desire to get more leads, right? Or to attract
Right.
more leads. There's the fear that they're not going to have revenue. So you have those two elements there. It's very relevant to a leadership coach. Then
Yeah.
inside the body of that post, very simple language. We're keeping it crystal clear. They can scan it. It's formatted well. I'm not using a big wall of text. I'm just speaking to very actionable advice. Going back to what we said at the beginning of the call, maybe it's the wrong way to do it, so they're warned, and it's the right way to do it, so they're informed. Warn and inform, right? That's the body. Then the last one is a call to action, right? Put your offer out there. Maybe your call to action is PS. If you need more leads and a powerful brand, I have 3 free strategy calls that I'm launching this week. Send me a DM. Could be something as simple as that. So you've got a really good and relevant hook. You've got a warning and informing body that's well formatted. And you've got a call to action that drives someone inside of your offer system. Maybe it's calling them to the featured section or a DM. That's what makes a good post.
That sounds awesome. And how do you come up with content ideas? Like there are a lot of like people feel like they might be using the same topics that somebody else has covered. Like, is it true that you should come up with original ideas, or you can use the same ideas that are doing well and make it like something out of your own?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. So here's what I mean by that. You can take original ideas and you can retell them in your eyes. Or if you find a new idea, a new way to communicate something, then you can communicate it in your own pathway as well. So I find ideas in a couple of ways. One, I read what other creators are doing. Two, I use ChatGPT and I say, here's my audience. Here's their problems. Here's their desires. Give me 20 content ideas and give me 3 unique examples of each of those content ideas so I can create a LinkedIn post. You're going to get plenty of answers there, right? The other way is audiobooks, right? So I find a sales or a marketing person who's actually done really good work, like Alex Hermosi, very popular right now. He's got his 2 books, $100 million offers, $100 million leads. He just has a way that resonates with me. So I listen to his stuff and it gives me good ideas. So there's really, if you want an idea, go and consume content. You consume content, you're definitely going to get ideas.
Yeah, I've borrowed a lot of ideas from Alex Hormozzi's content that I can speak of. Yeah, he's an amazing marketer and a businessman. What about repurposing content, Ryan? Like, do you have any sort of strategies around that? Like, how if you repurpose your content? And
Yeah,
is
I
it
think it's
okay
very
that you
important.
can, okay, sorry to cut you off. Is it okay to use the same piece of content, whether it is like a carousel or a written post, and reuse it, make it a little bit different? And like, is it okay to do that?
Absolutely. I did that this week, actually. This week on Tuesday, I launched a carousel called Five Bad Hooks to Avoid, but Rewritten for Use. Well, in January of this year, I had a carousel that was 7 bad hooks to avoid, but rewritten for
Okay.
use. I literally just changed the number.
Mm-hmm.
The content is the same. I had a different carousel style, so it's going to look different when you look at it, but I really just changed some cosmetics, not the core of the content. And
Right.
lo and behold, it's a warning and it's an informing, right? Bad hooks to avoid,
Mm,
there's your warning, but
yeah.
rewritten for use, there's your informing. And so
Yeah.
you can do that. I've done that a number of times. In fact, I had this lead generation post that's in my Parade content system. And this lead generation post was once a text post, then it was a carousel post, then it was another carousel post, then
Mhm.
it was a podcast episode, and I also believe I've made it into a video before. I've used it multiple times, and the amount of leads it's generated for me is just off the charts, right? Just from one posting style. So I
Mm.
use that now for my clients. I put it in my system. I write different versions of it. I adapt it. You can totally do that. And that was all this year, by the way. So I think on average, I'd say I've used that post at least once a month or once every 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome advice. Ryan, like you're one of the most successful content creators on LinkedIn. You've helped a lot of people, and we see a lot of people talk about these are the tools that I use. These are the AI tools that you should be using to build a personal brand, to become successful, to like outwork your competitors. Is that true? Is it really necessary to have all these paid tools, or is it okay that we can just use Grammarly or Google Docs and then test out a lot of strategies?
Yeah, it's totally cool. Don't get caught up in chasing all the shiny objects. I know it's really popular right now to have a 12 tools to boost your business post, right? Anyone who's posting that usually gets a lot of engagement. I would just say be very careful about one, doing that for yourself, but two, also reading it and taking action on that. I use very little tools. There's a program right now I use called Publer.io.
Mhm.
And the reason I use that is because it shows me what my post will look like on LinkedIn before it goes on LinkedIn. There's a couple that do that, like Authored Up and so on. But Publer has a free version that you can do that with, right? And
Okay.
um, that's totally fine to use. And then I use Notion as another one. My content system is actually in Notion, so I just have my posts all there. And so now it's just a very simple. I open this system for grabbing and editing my post, and I go to Publer and I check to see what it looks like. That's about it. And once you're at the advanced stages, then I'd say get off of Google Docs and get
Hmm.
a CRM that has like a sales pipeline. So
Yeah.
Monday.com is one that I use, and it allows me to put all my client information in there. I can send onboarding forms, and those onboarding forms are tied into my CRM. I can set up my sales pipeline. If you want a free one, HubSpot has a free one. You don't even have to pay
Yeah.
for it, right? So there's good tools out there, but think of the core of your business. If you're a
Yeah.
ghostwriter, it's content creation. So you need a place where you can put all of your clients and their information, and you
Hmm.
need a place where you can create content. Just
Yeah.
start with the big ones and then decide later on, do I need this little tool to help or this little tool? Solve the big ones first and let that direct your path. I think you'll find you probably need far less than 5 tools to run your business.
Yeah. That's amazing advice. I use Notion and Grammarly. That's it, not too much. I don't make
Yeah.
it too complicated that I have to go here and there to search for something that I didn't know. That if you use too much things, that your attention is diverted, and then you don't know what you are doing.
Yeah.
Ryan, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast. I
Sure.
mean, we want to go viral on LinkedIn. Let's establish that. Like everyone does,
Sure.
and I'm sure a lot of people have not experienced that yet. What would you say? Should people be chasing virality, or should they be focusing on the value behind the content? In a way, we kind of write content in a way that we want to go viral. Is that doable? Is it something that they shouldn't be chasing, or what should be the mindset behind that?
Quick one, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do me a small favor, hit those buttons, you know the drill. Your support is the only reason that I've been able to have these incredible guests on this podcast who are trying to bring more value to you. So please do me a small favor, hit that subscribe button, like the videos, ring the bell icon, leave a comment, share the videos with your friends and family who are trying to build a business, whichever platform you're consuming this on. That's it. Now, back to the podcast.
Yeah, I think chasing virality is too ambiguous of a goal. So I think, let me just tell you from my own experience, I've only had one post get above 1,300 engagements, just one, unless there's one that I don't know about that has. Now, some people, if you're just starting out, you'd say, okay, that's viral. Well, in reality, it's really not, right? Viral to me is 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 or higher. Like, think about virality on YouTube. Virality on YouTube is not a 1 million view video. That's really good. Virality on YouTube is a Mr. Beast video that does 300 million views.
Yeah.
Right. And he seems to get that right nearly every time, or at least he gets 50 million and so on. 50 million is probably a great number for viral. 20 million is probably a good number. Okay. On LinkedIn, that doesn't happen. Right. So contextually speaking, 1,000 is really good, but it's not a viral post. So I've never once had a viral post. I've never even gotten close to 2,000 likes. I've never even gotten close to, I guess 1,300 is close to 1,500, but you get my point, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're going for virality, what would be the end goal of that? Is it virality because going viral means everyone's going to buy your digital product? Is it virality because it means everyone's going to start following you? Is it virality because everyone's going to hire you to do something? Well, remember, viral posts are viral because they're mixing in all of these different audiences that have all of these different problems, needs, desires, and fears. So the chances, unless you have some product that is just, super broad scale, right? Like a social media platform that you're selling or ChatGPT, then the chances of that virality helping you are not going to be that great. I know of a creator who's gone viral before, and it changes the engagement for a while, or mainly on that post, but the average engagement that person gets per post is still not, it's not like it caught up to the virality. I don't know if he's gotten more clients from that or not. So I would say this, if you were viral with your target audience and only your target audience, which is basically never, then that would be amazing. But if you're viral because you got lucky, or maybe it picked up in the algorithm or just really resonate with people, amazing. We'll take that as a win, right? Maybe they buy something from you. Maybe your leads that were in that virality come to you. It's my long-winded way of saying, no, I don't think you should focus on virality. I think you should focus on building trust, authority, and being top of mind with people who are going to pull out their wallet or their credit card and buy your product, pay for your service, or hire you as their consultant. That's who you want to target.
Right. If your intent is to go viral, you like write different copy. But if you want to focus on followers, let's say, to establish yourself, I'm not even talking about hundreds of thousands, let's say a couple of thousand of followers that you are focusing on. Is it true that personal stories work very well on that front? That like you should post a picture of your, let's say, a work desk or yourself, a trip that you have went to. Is it okay to do that, or you should just stick to your work?
Yeah, I think it's okay to do that. I used to say don't do that. When I first started on LinkedIn, I grew without having to do one picture and so on. But what I've learned now is, it's okay to do those personal stories. And it's one of the reasons why I do more video on LinkedIn, more long form video actually, is because it allows me to build a rapport with people who only know me through a text-based system, right? So they're just reading my educational content, and that's how they're getting to know me. But if I want them to know me deeper, so I develop a deeper trust, so it leads to referrals and new revenue, then I think it's okay to do that. Have a personal story once a week is great. Sometimes you can do 2 a week. I've done twice a week before. Try that. Try a photo, and that's okay to do. I would say just be mindful to not overdo it. Right. Start off by once a week, once every 2 weeks, and feel it out. See how people respond, and then adjust.
Right. And like quick content strategy question, Ryan.
Sure.
We talk about top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Let's say somebody who wants to establish their service-based business, what should be the ideal posts that they should be writing? Like let's say they should be focusing on two top of the funnel, one middle of the funnel, one bottom of the funnel. Let's say 5 times a week or 6 times a week. What's the ideal strategy that you'd recommend to somebody who wants to do that?
Yeah, it'll differ for everyone based on their niche and their audience, but here's one that you can apply and generally think through. If you're really new, start with 3 to 4 top of funnel posts per week. You know, your listicles, like 10 ways to build your brand if you're a real estate agent, 10 ways to build your brand if you're a leadership coach, right? And then list them out. But instead of just doing like a list, like post LinkedIn content. Okay, well, that's obviously, right? Post LinkedIn content could be one, but then say, for example, use this method and then show an example of it, right? Then go to number 2, like update your banner. For example, don't include a banner that does this, include a banner that does this. Don't just list it out, list it and teach them how to do it, right? And if you're doing that type of content, then it's called snackable. Like someone can come and read that really quick. They can get informed and they can take action. So I would do more of that content because what you're going to do is create those conversations in your comments, but it's likely that they're going to share that. Maybe they know a friend, right? Anyone who's building a brand, for example, they may have a friend and or a group of people that they've surrounded themselves with who also want to do the same thing. I am surrounded by brand builders, both who are creators that are doing this full time and aspiring creators who have yet to make their first dollar. So I am constantly surrounded by these people. If I see something that's helpful to me, then it stays top of mind and I can share it with them, whether they're advanced or whether they're new. So you want to have that content. You want that content to be in that person's mind. You can share it with the advanced or the new.
Right. That makes so much sense. Ryan, one last question before we wrap up this podcast. So you've worked with a lot of people in the content game. You had some sort of self-belief that this system works. There would be people out there who don't believe that LinkedIn works for them, and they already feel like they cannot build a business on LinkedIn. They feel like they don't have enough skills. What advice would you give to them? Like maybe just give them a little bit of hope that you can actually build a business. And if so, what should be the initial steps like?
Yeah, you absolutely can. And I know many people outside of myself who are doing it from scratch. Let me tell you another quick story. This is Matt Barker. Maybe many of you guys know about Matt Barker, but it'll also be relative to my story as well. Matt Barker was working in marketing, very entry level, right? Very entry level marketing. Wasn't working at large companies, managing large teams, wasn't some mega super successful executive. He just started posting on LinkedIn and didn't get much response, you know, maybe a couple of likes per post and so on, very similar to my story. Over time, he started to build trust. He practiced and he applied. He practiced copywriting principles. He applied them. He started to make his content better. He got to know his target audience more and more. He looked for those signals, right? Remember, you don't have to know your target audience when you start. Just pick a direction, see how people respond. If you get a lot of responses from recruiters or a leadership coach, then tailor your content to speak more to recruiters or leadership coaches. Then offer a service. Maybe that means you're offering someone $100 or $1,000, whatever that is. Try it. See how people respond. Keep going. Most of this will be trial and error. But Matt went from very little likes to running his own 6-figure business. Every content creator I've met on the platform has the exact same story. And it's true whether you have a lot of experience or whether you have zero experience or very little experience like Matt, or you have a ton of experience like me. I mean, look, I worked at Google, managed large teams. I've sold to companies before. And when I first started on LinkedIn in 2022, I made $0, right? So I took all that information that I had previously. Sure, it helped, but it didn't allow me to make money right out of the gate. I had to learn copywriting principles. I had to learn how to prepare my own offer. I had to learn to do those things. And sure enough, come, a year later, I'm now running a successful business just like Matt. So for those of you who are just starting, practice writing crystal clear content. It's why I say edit with a flaming sword of fire. Make it immediately understandable and immediately actionable with good information, right? Don't use platitudes like patience is a virtue. Okay, great. That doesn't help anybody do anything.
Yeah.
But if you said it, 5 ways to be more patient with difficult clients. Okay, now we're talking. Now someone can understand that and apply that information. So be that person, and there's no way you won't get interest from people who want to pay you to write for them.
That was fantastic advice, Ryan. Any last few thoughts that you may have that you want to share? Also, please share where can people reach out to you if they want to sign up for your services. Can you please let them know where they can find you?
Yeah, head over to my LinkedIn profile. It's just if you do the /RM as in Musselman, so RMUSS. You'll find me there, and I have. If you're very new, I recommend getting my Parade content system. It's right in my featured section. It has 15 carousel templates, 30 hook templates, 30 engagement templates, 3 lead generation templates. It basically is designed to help people who are just starting out, that they can build content, build engagement, and start attracting people. I'd say start there. That could be really helpful for people. And for anyone else who's out there, feel free to add me or send me a DM or ask me a question in the comments. Would love to hear from you, and very grateful to be able to do this and help other creators.
Please do it, guys. Ryan is an amazing coach. He's helped everyone. I mean, the reason I got in touch with Ryan was because I felt some connection through his content. I reached out to him, and then here we are recording the podcast. Reach out to him, guys. Sign up for his services. I'm sure you'll be able to find something that you're looking for, and you may even build a 6-figure business like Ryan. Thank you so much for this podcast, Ryan. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have an amazing day ahead.
You as well, my friend. Great job with this. You're a wonderful host. I'm really proud to see that. So I hope this podcast super blows up in the future. Great job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.